Okay, number 5. Number 5 is a tough one. Excuse me. Number 5 says, find the measure of angle T. The measure of angle T if T, the angle T, is 20 more than 4 times the measure of its supplement. Angle T is 20 more than 4 times the measure of its supplement. So, let's take it one step at a time. Let's just call the variable T for angle T, okay? It says angle T is, so we're going to write like an algebraic equation here. When it says T is, what do we put in place of is when we're writing algebraic equations? Equals. So T equals 20 more than. So 20 more than means you're going to add 20, so I can write it 20 plus, or I can tack on plus 20 at the end. 20 more than 4 times, so 4 times the measure of its supplement. So that's the difficult part, is what goes here. What does it mean when it says the measure of its supplement? Okay. Well, for example, if I said an angle is 120, what's its supplement? 60, right? Because together they would add to 180. If I said an angle is 100, what's its supplement? 80, because you get that by taking 180 minus 100, right? If I said an angle is 90 degrees, what's its supplement? 90 degrees, right? You get that by taking that. Last one, if I said an angle is 110, what's its supplement? 180 minus 110 is 70, right? I'm always taking 180 minus whatever that angle is. I call that angle T. So its supplement is going to be 180 minus T. I could call it supplement X, Y, or Z or something like that, but that won't do me any good because I'll have a variable with I'll have an equation with 2 variables. I'm going to say its supplement is 180 minus whatever T is. Because if T is 100, its supplement will be 80. If T is 80, its supplement will be 100. If T is 90, its supplement will be 90, and so forth. Okay? So now I just need to solve this algebraic equation for the variable T. I'm going to distribute to 4, do the multiplication first. I get T equals 20 plus, I believe that's 720 minus 4T. I get the T's together on the same side of the equal sign. So I'll add 4T here, add 4T here. That gives me 5T equals 740 when I combine those like terms. And I'll divide both sides by 5. So I get angle T is 148. If I asked what's its supplement would be 180 minus 148, which would be 32. But the question just asks what is the measure of angle T? So the measure of angle T is 148. So the tricky part on that one is what do you put in when it means it's supplement? Well, I just put in 180 minus T, because if T is whatever it is, if I take 180 minus that, that'll be its supplement, because I know supplementary means add to 180. All right, number 8 says, name 2 acute vertical angles. So opposites of 2 intersecting lines, name 2 acute vertical angles. Anybody want to take a stab at that? 2 acute vertical angles here. So you kind of got to tune out the rest of the figure. I want 2 angles that are opposite of each other of 2 intersecting lines. For example, if I gave you this straight line and I gave you this straight line, what would be a pair of acute vertical angles? Would you say this one and this one? Right? Those are vertical. They're opposites of 2 intersecting lines. They're acute. They're smaller than 90, so let's label those. I would say this bottom one, we could call it angle THP, right? THP, that's that angle. This one, what could we call that one? QGR, RGQ, yeah. QGR. Those would be acute vertical angles. Very good. Thank you, because G, sorry, my picture is confusing. That should not be. Yes, they have to share the same vertex. G is this point here. H is this point here. So I should say QHR. Thank you. Yeah, because there's the vertex. It goes QHR. My picture was a little confusing. That's G, that's H. So we'll go QHR or RHQ. Name two obtuse vertical angles. Let's look at those same two lines again. This one and this one. What would be obtuse vertical angles here? THQ, yep. Angle THQ. So that's talking about this one, THQ. And, yep, angle RHP. THQ and RHP. Those are two obtuse vertical angles. They're vertical, they're opposite to two intersecting lines. They're obtuse, they're bigger than 90. Name a pair of complementary adjacent angles. Complementary adjacent angles. This one's a little tough here. I know that these two angles are are complementary, but they're not adjacent, right? They're complementary because those two angles would add up to 90, but they're not adjacent, they don't share a side. So I'm looking here, I know that, it's hard to tell in my picture, but this is a right angle, okay? Which means this has to be a right angle, the yellow one. Because together, those make a linear pair. That yellow and red, they are part of a straight line. You with me there? So, this is also a right angle. So I want two complementary adjacent angles. So I would say this angle and this angle, because together they make up a 90-degree angle. So I could say RQG, RQG, and I could say GQH, GQH. Those two angles would be adjacent complementary angles. Share a side, share a vertex, no common interior points, and they add to 90. Name a pair of complementary non-adjacent angles. This one's pretty easy. What are the complementary non-adjacent angles? Yep. QRT, or you could say QRG, QRH, either one. QRT, that's that angle, and TPH, which is also the same as TPQ, which is the same as SPQ, which is the same as SPH. Those two are complementary, not adjacent. Add to 90, don't share a side. Name a linear pair whose vertex is G. Name a linear pair whose vertex is G. So I want two angles that are adjacent and their non-common side, the side that they don't share, is a straight line. So I'm probably looking at that line. How could I name a linear pair where their vertex is G? QGR, yes, QGR. So that's talking about QGR. This angle, what is its linear pair? Yep, QGT. Angle QGT. Those make up a linear pair. Those two angles are adjacent, and their non-common side's a straight line, and their vertex is point G. Okay, the red and blue ones there, those would be a linear pair whose vertex is G. Last one of this figure, name an angle supplementary to HTS. Name an angle supplementary to HTS. I want an angle that I know will add up to 180 with that angle. Now, the kind of difficult part here is they don't give you what this is equal to, right? They don't tell you how many degrees this is. But you know that its linear pair adds up to 180. What's the linear pair with this red angle? Very good. HTP. Those two angles make a linear pair, right? So I would say angle HTP is supplementary to HTS, because together they make up a straight line, and we know a straight line's 180 degrees. Together they make up that straight line, and a straight line's 180. I would recommend on these problems drawing out a picture, because oftentimes when you see the picture it becomes really clear. So off to the side I'd probably sketch out a figure. It says rays PQ and QR are perpendicular. So let's stop right there. It says you have two rays. One of them is called PQ, and the other one's called QR. So I'm just going to extend this one, QR. They're rays, so I'll put them like that. It says they're perpendicular. Those two rays are perpendicular. Automatically, I know that means what? That they make a right angle. They're 90 degrees, because perpendicular means they make a right angle. So that should tip me off a lot right there. Next it says point S lies on the interior of PQR. So I'm going to put a point S out here on the interior, just somewhere on the inside of that. I'm just taking it one step at a time here. Then it says if PQS, so I'm going to go ahead and connect these. If PQS is 4 plus 7A, so I'll label that 4 plus 7A, that's PQS. And SQR is 9 plus 4A. The question says, find the measure of angle PQS and the measure of angle SQR. So the question says, find what these two angles equal. I know together those two angles are going to be what? 90, because they make up a 90-degree angle, right? So that's going to be my algebra to help me solve. I don't know they're both equal necessarily. It didn't tell me this bisects it, right? So I know those two are going to add to equal 90. I don't know they're equal. They could be equal, but I don't know that from the problem. So I know that if I take 4 plus 7A and I add that to 9 plus 4A, that's going to equal 90 degrees. So see, once I drew the figure, it became pretty clear. Add my like terms. 7A plus 4A is 11A. 9 plus 4 is 13. Subtract 13 from both sides. So A is 7. But just make sure you answer the correct question. Now that you know A is 7, it wants these two angles. So you now know what to plug in here, and you now know what to plug in here to find those two angles. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 4, this angle is 53. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 9, this angle is 37. 53 and 37 make up 90. That's it. Another word problem that we're going to have to write out as an algebraic equation. It says the measure of the supplement of an angle is, okay, let's just call our angle x in this case. Let's just call our angle x, a common variable. What's going to be the supplement of x? Yep. That will be the supplement of x, right? We talked about that earlier, that supplement means add to 180. So if x it was 100, its supplement's going to be 180 minus 100, which is 80. If x is 50, its supplement's going to be 180 minus 50, which is 130. So I'm going to call this the supplement. So let's again read it. It says the measure of the supplement of an angle, so I called that 180 minus x, is, when I see the word is, what do I put? Equal. Is 60 less than. So I know whatever I have here, I'm going to subtract it from 60. If I said 60 less than 100, you'd take 100 minus 60, right? So I'm going to put minus 60 at the end. 60 less than 3 times the measure of the complement of the angle. So 3 times the measure of the complement of the angle, find the angle. Well, if this is its supplement, and again I'm talking about angle x, what is its complement? Complement's going to be 90 minus x, right? Because if this was 50, its complement would be 90 minus 50, which is 40. If x was 80, its complement would be 90 minus 80, which is 10. So I'm going to call this its complement, because I know complement means add to 90. So inside these parentheses, it says 3 times the measure of its complement. I'm going to go 90 minus x. So now I have an algebra problem that I can begin to solve for x. I'm going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So the left side of the equation stayed the same. 3 times 90, 270. 3 times negative 1x minus 3x minus 60. I'm going to get my like terms together. So I'm going to move the minus 3x to the other side by adding it. One's to the left, one's to the right. I still have 180 over here. Negative 1x plus 3x is going to give me positive 2x. I still have the 270. That's gone. I still have the minus 60. I have like terms there. I go ahead and combine. 180 plus 2x equals 210. Subtract 180 from both sides. That's going to give me, I'm going to write it up here at the top, 2x equals 30, so x is 15. So the original angle that I was talking about was 15 degrees. Its supplement would be 180 minus 15, which is 165, sorry. And its complement would be 90 minus 15, which is 75. Pretty tough problem there, but once you get it written out, it's just solving algebra. Lines P and Q intersect, so I'm going to call, there's a line, there's a line. I'm going to call one of them line P, one of them line Q. Lines P and Q intersect to form adjacent angles 1 and 2. So it doesn't matter which ones I pick, but let's say I pick those. Those are adjacent angles, right? 1 and 2. I could have picked 1 and 2 here. I could have picked 1 and 2 here. There's a lot of places I could have picked it. If angle 1 is 3x plus 18, angle 1 is 3x plus 18, and angle 2 is negative 8y minus 70. Negative 8y minus 70. Find the values of x and y so that P, line P is perpendicular to line Q. If those two lines are perpendicular, what does it say about where they cross? What's perpendicular mean again? It's 90 degrees. So it means they cross at 90 there, they cross at 90 there. My picture doesn't look like it because I didn't read that far ahead, but I'm going to go ahead and label it that they meet at 90-degree angles. That's what perpendicular means. Okay. So now I need to solve for x and y. Let's just look at this one first. How can I solve for x knowing this? Well, I know angle 1 is how many degrees? 90, because it was perpendicular, right? So I can solve for x. I know 3x plus 18 is going to be equal to 90, right? 3x plus 18 is going to be equal to 90, because that's what perpendicular told me. Same exact thing here. I know angle 2 is 90 degrees, because perpendicular means they cross at 90-degree angles. So I know negative 8y minus 70 is going to be equal to 90. You should get a positive number for x, and you'll probably get a negative number for y when you solve both of those. So I think when you do this, you solve this, you get, oh no, it just decides to find x and y. So you just have to find x and find y. We know each angle is 90 degrees. So find x and find y from there. It says the measure of an angle supplement. So again, let's call the angle x. What am I going to call its supplement? 180 minus x, right? Supplement means they add to 180. So I'm going to call this its supplement. I called this the original angle. So the problem says the measure of an angle supplement, well, it's 180 minus x, is means equal, 44 less than, so whatever I have, I'm going to subtract 44 from, 44 less than, the measure of the angle. I called that x. Find the measure of the angle and its supplement. So this one's a lot easier than the ones we did before. So that's my algebra problem. If I want to bunch it together so it looks a little better, it's just going to be x minus 44. Let's get the x's on the same side of the equal sign. Add x, 180, that goes away. 1x plus 1x is 2x. Add 44 to both sides.
But if it's a negative x?
Since it was a minus x, that's why I had to add x here. If you did the other way, you would subtract x and you would get negative 2x on the other side. Yeah. So this is 224 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And I get my original angle is 112. The question was find both angles. That's 112. Its supplement is going to be 180 minus 112. So what's the other angle? 68, right? 180 minus 112. Together, those are supplementary. They add to 180. So whenever you see its supplement, that's 180 minus x. Whenever you see its complement, it'd be 90 minus x. And that's the first 17 on that homework there, most of them.